So Angel is sniffing around in the brush this morning. It is Tuesday, April 7th, if I'm not mistaken. And we got to the park. And lo and behold, a sheriff sits here. So, you know, I'm not shy about sheriff deputies, law enforcement, whatever, considering I used to work there back in California. So he was telling me that a lot of people have come into the park, saw him turn around and left, and I said, well, I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. The governor's order says that we can exercise, and I'm bringing my dog out to exercise. And he agreed that I wasn't doing anything wrong. So he did bring up the mask bit. And I said, well, the mask is not a mandatory thing. It's voluntary, and keeping your distance is the big thing. And I'm definitely keeping my distance. Because one, there's nobody in the park, and two, you're sitting in your car and I'm sitting in mine. So he let that go, but we talked a little bit, and then I drove off to park, and he followed me, and then he pulled up behind me. So I was like, now what? Well, he saw my service dog identification on the back of the Jeep, so he was asking about the service dog. So he asked where we got Angel, and I told him the whole spiel that you don't have to go through a trainer, you can self-train them. I said, you know, there are certain things they have to go through, and they have to be accredited in good behavior. So, you know, at least that much of it you have to do. But other than that, you know, there's no ID for a service dog. And he was surprised. He said, well, Michigan requires it. So I had to tell him, no, Michigan does not require it. Michigan and North Carolina have a voluntary service dog registration, but it's just that voluntary. It's not required. You don't need an ID. And even if you read it, Michigan law, it refers you back to the federal law, which says there is no ID card for a service dog. Service dogs can be self-trained or self-taught, and that there's only two things that a company can ask about your dog. You know, is it a service dog, and what service does it perform? That's it, period, end of story. So he thought that was interesting because he's got somebody that would benefit from a service dog, you know. And I reiterated that we got her from the pound as an abused dog, but it, you know, you've got to be willing to spend the time with the animal. And I did admit that I slacked off on her a little bit since coming back from California, but she still knows when I put on the proper vest that she behaves like a service dog. Other than that, you know, these morning walks are so she can be a dog. Because, after all, that's what they are. So, I was surprised that he didn't actually go through their canine unit people, but maybe it's better to hear it from the horse's mouth. I don't know. But anyway, that's enough about the sheriff. He was a nice guy. I've talked to him before. I just thought it was funny, you know. You see a sheriff's deputy car, and I'm doing something wrong. Turn around and leave. I won't play the game. I've been there, done that. Like I said, I've worked with law enforcement. I've been in law enforcement, and they're just people. So treat them as such, but treat them with respect. But enough on my high horse. So yes, it is still Tuesday, the 7th of April, and it's 52 degrees right now. There's no sun. as you can see. And it's supposed to get to 55. And maybe the sun will come out this afternoon, who knows. But a little down. I've been dealing with a quack nurse practitioner, as I call it. I have nothing against nurse practitioners. For the most part, I like them, but ever since I came back to Michigan, and I've heard the horror stories of the Detroit VA system, this guy has decided to take me off my pain meds that I've been on for 5 years, and I'm still battling with him. He's telling me that it goes against the VA protocol. Well, I actually looked up VA protocol, and it does not go against their protocol. It states that, it could cause sleep apnea and interact with other medications. However, it also says if it's well tolerated and it works, then the medical provider can follow you. Well, one, I don't take tramadol every day. The medication that he's worried about is diazepam or Valium, and I don't take that every day. So there again, I don't see the issue. Well, I'm also taking 2 other medications for depression and anxiety or panic attacks, and he doesn't seem to be concerned about those 2, which I would. But what it comes down to is he just doesn't want to do the work. So his workaround is to say, it doesn't meet protocol and I'm taking you off it, period. End of story. So I'm just going to have to go to a patient advocate and file a complaint against him, because this does not violate protocol in any way, shape, or form. And I already have sleep apnea, so it can't cause something that I already have. So now, reading on it, I can see where it says if the patient keeps insisting that they need to be on the medication, that they must be addicted to it. Well, that's a crock, because I haven't been on it in 6 months. But ever since he's taken me off it, I've been in pain for 6 months too. And his only advice was gabapentin and naproxen. Well, I was on gabapentin for something else, not pain related, but he said in one of his messages, well, continue on the gabapentin and the naproxen for pain. Well, I wasn't taking gabapentin for pain, so I started taking it for pain. And then I get lectured for self-dosing. So I had to unload on him with both barrels. I said, I do not self-dose. Here is what you sent me. It says to continue on gabapentin and naproxen for pain. Well, since you didn't prescribe it, I took that as a subscription or a prescription, so I started taking it, which did absolutely nothing. So, so this guy has knocked me back about 4 or 5 steps in my mental health recovery, because he's a jerk. That was a nice jump. So I'll have to see what I can do. I don't really want to drive to Detroit, but everything in Yale is nurse practitioners, and maybe I just need to get away from them. I mean, a neurosurgeon put me on it, or a orthopedic surgeon, excuse me, bad day. An orthopedic surgeon put me on the tramadol, so I think he rates a little higher there than a nurse practitioner, but I've done my venting for today. Angel's had her little play, and I think we'll end this since we're going on 10 minutes. Probably one of the longest videos I've done, but here again, I had to vent to somebody. I already vented to my wife, so now I'll vent to my friend in California who knows very well what I'm talking about with younger medical professionals who think they know more than the patient does. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye.